What's up, gamers? It's your host, Cobra, and today we're reviewing the Riot Racers Driver Drop and Reveal. Well, the Riot Racers Driver Drop and Reveal is now in the history books, and today we're going to be talking about what happened during the drop, during the reveal, how my results were, and then some strategy moving forward for anybody that also got some drivers. But before we do, make sure you support the channel by hitting us up on Twitter, and make sure you hit that like and subscribe button as well. It takes 2 seconds for all this free content. So how did the drop itself go? It was actually very smooth. The Riot Racers team continues to improve. They've done several drops this year, and they clearly are learning and getting better with each one. The majority of them for the second half of the year have been relatively smooth, and this one was no different. They kept the reservation system. I saw a ton of people really thankful that the gas fees were so low, and that reservation system is how they do it. Again, if you're involved with another project, please consider using reservations. I also saw that people were pretty happy with the windows this time. This is because it's a blind drop, so when in the order that you are able to mint isn't terribly important, but having the ability to do so is, and this kept the website up and running the entire time. I'm not aware of any outages that were experienced from a rush of traffic, which is often what happens without the windows. They also had a giveaway for racetrack land, which is awesome. A whole bunch of people won a whole bunch of new racetrack plots. They're going to be receiving that very soon, so if you are one of those winners, keep an eye on your wallet and the announcements in Discord. There was a little bit of complaining about how that was done because they chose to do every 50th transaction and not every 50th driver ID. That's because it has a better randomness and distribution when you do it that way, but it is a little bit more difficult for users to see if they won or not because you have to go into Etherscan and kind of count it up. So perhaps there is a better way to communicate that, but I do think that that was the fairest way to run the giveaway. Regardless, that is a great prize. Keep it up, team. The reveal itself also went pretty smoothly, although it didn't get off to the best start. They had planned on a reveal on December 4th. It ended up getting delayed pretty much a full 24 hours. The team did a good job of communicating that there was going to be some delays throughout that process. There was a lot of excitement. I know I personally stayed up until quite early in the morning, hoping that it would happen on Saturday. It ended up happening yesterday on Sunday instead, and this is normal. There is a lot of things happening when they are uploading everything, and so it's not terribly uncommon. That said, I always preach to under-promise and over-deliver, so if they do another drop in this style, my recommendation would be simply to give a more vague date and say, hey, it's going to be this weekend, instead of saying it's going to be Saturday. Whether you're a buyer or seller in this scenario, there's a quick lesson about delayed reveals that I want to share with everybody. When you list your unrevealed driver, in this case, on OpenSea, and then the reveal happens, it does not get delisted. If you priced it at a point where it had a chance to sell unrevealed, and then you pulled something rare, it's going to be gone almost immediately because now your driver is severely underpriced. And if you're a buyer, you should be looking for this opportunity yourself. They've listed it. It's fair game to purchase. So as the unrevealed listed drivers start to reveal, you should keep an eye out, and there's always a handful of people that end up with a really great deal because they purchased one that was listed as unrevealed that didn't get delisted before the reveal happens. So nothing wrong with selling anything pre-reveal. I do that all the time. However, make note of when the reveal is supposed to happen, and if your sale hasn't been made before then, delist it and then relist it once the reveal is done. So let's jump in and take a look at how the drop went for myself. My strategy coming in was to get 10 total drivers unrevealed. I was being airdropped 4 of them for the Genesis cars that I hold. I was also going to purchase some additional ones so that I could get whitelist spots for the Apollo driver drop or Apollo car drop that is coming at the end of the month. I also really wanted at least a few chances to win some additional racetrack land. I had a whitelist spot from the loot box, so I purchased 3 more during that window, and then I waited for the public drop to open up, and I purchased 3 more towards the very end because that was when you had the best chance at the higher tiered racetrack lands. I ended up with pretty good results. There were no mechas in my mints, which is disappointing, but with only 10, kind of expected. However, the really good news was that I got 5 female drivers out of the 10, and males are the commons. So I was quite happy with that. I also really wanted to get at least 1 fire type because that's the rarest type, and ideally a female fire type because in my opinion, the females look much better than the males do. That is not meant to be a knock on the males, but rather a very big compliment for the females, which I think look fantastic. The mechas were not quite ready to reveal yesterday, so if you pulled a mecha, you have a placeholder, and sometime towards the middle of this week, we should see those reveal as well. So here are the 11 drivers that I am currently holding. And if you've been following this channel, you will not be surprised to find out that this is not my final roster. I tend to be very active after a drop, especially one like this where there is a lot of information to absorb. This is for a couple of reasons. Number one, my targets tend to be underpriced, and so I want to sell my stuff relatively quickly so that I can reinvest before those prices go up. I also believe that I have a little bit of an edge because we're following this project very closely, and while nobody truly knows what's good and what's bad today, I think I have a better idea than the typical person and like to take advantage of that. So far, I have sold 2 more common drivers that I didn't particularly like the aesthetics of, and I have purchased 3 that I do. 2 of them are mechas. Now, what happened there is I really didn't think I was going to have the budget to buy a mecha on secondary at all. My expectation was that these prices would be higher right out the gate. However, I found one for 0.44, which looked terribly underpriced at the time, and I purchased it right away. Then a few hours later, somebody posted a fire mecha for 0.64, and again, I thought this was way underpriced and a great deal. In fact, I did a little happy dance when the transaction went through. That's how excited I was to get a fire mecha. And so now I have spent more than I intended and need to sell off some of the extras, and that means I either need to get rid of one of the mechas or I need to sell off some of the other rares that I rather like. So what's going to end up happening is I'll list all of them, and the ones that go first are the ones that go first. So after the mecha reveal happens, then I'll officially be able to pick a favorite one. I am hoping that the fire mecha is my favorite because it's both the most expensive, the most rare, and frankly, I really like robots, and I would be very pleased if that is an awesome looking one. That said, my favorite so far is also the highest rated driver that I pulled. This is a female one that is in the fusion suit with the helmet. This is a really, really cool look and a really rare look. But on top of that, she's also rated 394. That is by far the highest that I pulled or purchased so far, and should make for a really excellent driver in game. Now, before we jump into the strategy section and give you some ideas on how to create a free roll, I want to talk to you a little bit about flippers and the impact that they have on the market and why it's not really a problem. Now, a bunch of you have commented that you minted this for 0.07. Why would you sell it for less than that right away? And it's because once it's revealed and shown to be a common driver, well, it's worth less. There's no longer a possibility of getting a rare, so the value drops a little bit. But you're thinking to yourself, hey, how does that add up to a profit? Well, flippers aren't purchasing just one or two and then trying to sell it for more. That's more of a gambler, in my opinion. But rather, they are purchasing in bulk and trying to get rid of everything quickly. The plan is to hit at least one or two rares that will sell for a large multiple and help cover the gap of everything else that you have to sell below mint cost at the floor in order to get your money back quickly. This spreadsheet should help illustrate that for you. As long as the total is more than the total cost, they've made a profit. And that's often the goal and often why you see things priced the way they are. So opportunity number one is take advantage of these folks. They are selling cheaply and quickly. And so this is a great opportunity for you to purchase some drivers for cheap, even cheaper than the mint cost. Now, you will have to wait for their value to go up if you're not intending to actually use those drivers. But if you look at the rest of the Riot Racers collection, there has been a pretty predictable history. The prices are much lower immediately after the drop. This is only not the case with the rookie race cars, and only because they've been in relatively short supply and they come very, very cheap at the drop. However, with almost everything else, the price is usually right around mint, often a little bit below mint for a little bit of time. And then after a few weeks, the buyers that really want this stuff will have come in and swept the floor and the prices start to rise. If you look at the Genesis cars, that was the case for most of them. If you look at the land, especially the racetrack plots, they stayed under mint for a long time before they went to 2x or even as high as 2.5x mint price. So for that reason, purchasing drivers off the floor or near the floor and waiting until the prices go up is not a bad way to make a little extra profit right now. However, that does require spending more money, not less. And many of you are looking to get some profit out right away. So my typical strategy is to find the rarest one, see if I can sell it for enough to cover the entire rest of the cost. Now, I have several drivers that would do that for me today. However, that's only because I got 4 of them airdropped for free. If that's not the case for you, that's going to be a little bit more difficult unless you got a really, really good pull. However, there's a bunch of middle tier, uncommon type of drivers that are selling for a nice profit already. If you've got a female, the floor is well over mint. If you have a female 2, it's even higher over mint. Female 2 is the more Asian looking type of driver. Female 1 is the more Caucasian looking. And so selling some of those could be a good way to go. I typically recommend that you sell more of the cosmetic values than the stats. Right now, there's no way for drivers to improve their stats. That may change over time, but for today, if you've got ones that are more valuable because they've got good stats and you're comparing them to ones that are more valuable because they have good cosmetics, personally, I'll take the stats over the cosmetics every time. A couple more things I want to point out because the dev team made note of these in Discord over the last 24 hours or so. Number one, a reminder that while the stats of your driver are fixed currently, there's really no bad drivers. They impact approximately 20% of the race outcome, and that's actually the smallest factor of anything that we know of so far today. 51% is based on the strategy you choose before the race, and so really all of these drivers have the ability to win. And if you're going up against a bunch that are rated 390, 400, 410, and you've got a more average 365 or 370, that does not mean that you have lost the race by any means. If your strategy is better and you've done a better job of choosing the right driver for that particular race, you can absolutely still win. The other tip that George pointed out was that everybody is focused on the total rating which is important, of course, but I don't see very many people taking a close look at the individual stat ratings, and especially if you're willing to build a larger roster, it may benefit you to have even more to choose from. Say maybe you've got 4 different fire types, and each one has a different strong suit. This guy's good at braking, this guy's got high speed. That allows you even more variety when you're choosing the right driver for the race. So that wraps up our driver drop and reveal review video. I had a lot of fun with this one. It's by far the most time that I have spent in the Riot Racers Discord over the last couple of days, and really excited to see the community grow. So for that reason, I am giving the team an A for this drop, and looking forward to the next one for sure. If you haven't already, make sure you're following us on Twitter. Make sure you also hit that like and subscribe button to help support the channel. It's also the best way to ensure that you don't miss additional free roll videos in the future.